body in a river. What we know about the suspect tonight.
The trial for the weapons handler in the fatal Rust movie shooting set started today.
And we hear from District 27 Republican candidate Scott Mandel how he plans to tackle border security.
We got some strong south wind out there, and that's what's bringing up all the Gulf moisture and the very warm temperatures. Overnight lows only in the 60s, but you like 80 degrees? Well, we'll be talking about that coming up in just a few minutes.
Plus, the Victoria West girls chasing down a district title. Here from the lone senior coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia. Victoria police arrested a 34-year-old Furman Cuellar in the 200 block of Rio Grande Street. Cuellar is charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and remains in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $30,000 bond.
Victoria County Sheriff's deputies arrested a 17-year-old suspect on Fosterfield Drive. Manuel Nava is charged with injury to a child, elderly, or disabled person. He is in the Victoria County Jail with no bond set. Cuero police arrested a 46-year-old suspect on charges from Lavaca County. Cedric Lemons faces 4 charges, including burglary of a home and engaging in organized criminal activity. Lemons is in the DeWitt County Jail in lieu of $79,000 bond. Republican Scott Mandel is running for the U.S. District 27 congressional seat.
25 News Now Weekend anchor Adam Seibel has more.
Mandel is from Corpus Christi, and he says he wants to better represent the people that live in District 27. Mandel earned a master's degree in public administration in 1998 from Texas A&M Corpus Christi. He worked in law enforcement for a decade, specializing in cases involving missing and exploited children, and then went on to manage and own a security company for the past 33 years. Mandel says his primary issue that he's running on is to secure the border.
We need to fortify the border. We need to put forward operating bases on the border. I built a plan called Abacus, America's Border and Immigration Control and Unified Systems, which calls for forward operating bases on the border, and that will secure our border. Secondly, we need to let the country, the world know our border is closed.
Mandel also says he's pro-business, supports the Second Amendment and veterans, and is pro-life. District 27 covers 14 counties, including Goliad, Jackson, Lavaca, and right here in Victoria. Don, Karina, back to you.
Adam, thank you. Here are the other Republican candidates on the ballot in District 27. The incumbent, Michael Cloud, Chris Mapp, and Luis Espindola. Luis will join us in studio tomorrow on 25 News Now at 5. The winner there will face the Democrat who wins the primary election March 5th. Early voting in Victoria for the March 5th primary election continued Wednesday. The numbers from the Victoria County Election Administrator look like this. 316 people voted in person early Wednesday. 595 total in-person votes so far. 5 mail-in votes were received Wednesday, a total of 160 mail-in votes so far.
A new poll by the UT Texas Politics Project shows 60% of voters think there will be political violence in the U.S. This is in response to the 2024 election results. Of those polled, 24% believe it will be very likely and 36% believe it will be somewhat likely. So here is your viewer poll tonight. The question is, do you anticipate political violence following the November election? Yes or no? According to our results, it looks like 60% stand at yes and the remaining 40% stand at no.
And thank you for voting. And let's take a first look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis. I would vote for this kind of weather every day in February, but I would vote against early morning fog, Mac.
Yeah. Well, that was a problem this morning. We were down at half-mile visibility, but that, it burns off pretty quickly, about 9 o'clock. Tomorrow morning, I think we may not have as widespread. I mean, we'll have some. And the reason is that the winds are fairly gusty. Right about now, generally clear skies over the area. Next couple of days, well, we're not going to see much in terms of rain. I don't have any rain for the next 7 days. We'll talk about your weekend, however, coming up in just a few minutes, so stay tuned.
Mac, thank you. A family friend is now charged with capital murder in connection to the death of 11-year-old Audrey Cunningham. Divers located Audrey's body in the Trinity River after searching for 5 days. Investigators say 42-year-old Don Stephen McDougal was the last person to see Audrey on Thursday. They used evidence from cell phone data and video footage to connect him to the crime. Police found Audrey's body tied to a large rock underwater. The rope was found similar to the one investigators saw in his vehicle on a traffic stop 2 days before her death. McDougal has since been denied bond. Now a heartbroken community has come together to remember 11-year-old Audrey Cunningham after her tragic death. Friends of Audrey's mother organized a candlelight vigil tonight in her hometown of Livingston. Many wore purple to honor the child who was found Tuesday after the 5-day search.
Mesquite police confirm officers fired 19 shots at a 16-year-old armed student. KXAS reports police are still investigating after they say a 16-year-old walked into a school office with a gun on Monday morning. Authorities said 3 officers talked with the student, urging him to put down his gun, but that they ended up firing their weapons at him. The student was released from the hospital Monday night. He was treated for a leg wound. He is now in the Dallas County Juvenile Detention Center. A temporary workaround is now available for immigrant families who have been affected by glitches in the revamped free application for federal student aid, also known as FAFSA. The Texas Tribune reports parents without a Social Security number have been unable to add their financial information and complete the form. Applicants facing pressing state or school deadlines can now submit an incomplete FAFSA online without a parent's signature.
Today, trial is set to begin for Hannah Gutierrez, the weapons handler from the movie Rust.
This comes more than 2 years after cinematographer Halyna Hutchins was fatally shot on the New Mexico set.
Jury selection has begun in the trial against Hannah Gutierrez, the armorer on the movie Rust. Gutierrez is facing 2 counts of involuntary manslaughter after cinematographer Halyna Hutchins was shot and killed on the New Mexico set in October 2021. Actor Alec Baldwin was holding the revolver and practicing a cross draw when the gun fired and the live bullet struck Hutchins. He has pleaded not guilty to recently refiled involuntary manslaughter charges. Since the initial investigation, he's insisted he never fired the gun.
Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger.
You never pulled the trigger?
No. I would never point a gun at anyone and pull a trigger at them. Never. That was the training that I had. You don't point a gun at me and pull the trigger.
Prosecutors dismissed the case against Baldwin last April, but brought it back in January after they claimed additional facts came to light. In addition to involuntary manslaughter charges, Gutierrez is accused of tampering with evidence after prosecutors claim she handed off a small bag of cocaine following a police interview the day of the shooting. She has pleaded not guilty to all charges. Text messages included in court documents suggest members of the crew were concerned about Gutierrez's alleged drug and alcohol use. "I told you Hannah was blackout drunk last weekend, right?" Documents also show witnesses claimed Gutierrez was high on marijuana in her hotel room while in possession of ammunition used on the set. Prosecutors allege they have substantial evidence that Gutierrez brought the live rounds on set in Santa Fe. 6 live rounds were discovered. Her attorney denies the claim, saying the state unquestionably lacks authority to prosecute Ms. Gutierrez on this charge, adding their response to launch vitriolic personal attacks to obscure the facts and truth is more of the same unprofessional conduct that we have seen throughout the case. Both felony counts of involuntary manslaughter are punishable by up to 18 months in jail if convicted. Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Here are some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. The Calhoun County Commissioner's Court gave authorization for the purchase of new firearms for deputies. Plus, a church in Port Lavaca held their annual pancake supper on February 13th. You can read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com.
The city of Victoria broke ground on the new public safety headquarters this morning. The new headquarters will include 70,000 square feet located in the 2500 block of North Main Street. It will house the Victoria Police Department, dispatch, the fire department, administrators, and a new municipal court. The building is anticipated to be completed by August of 2025. Once they are moved into, other city departments will move into the current City Hall building in downtown Victoria. And the Salvation Army of Victoria's Life Enrichment Center is set to open March 12th. Construction started September 1st at the Salvation Army's home office, 1302 North Lewis Street. The center is about 2,000 square feet and will feature a classroom with available computers. There will also be a library and a study area and a medical room where people will receive care, assessments, and referrals. A computer station and a laundry facility will also be available.
There was a slight rise in contributions to the Salvation Army of Victoria's Red Kettle campaign last year. The Red Kettles raised just under $60,000 last year in the Crossroads. That was up $600 from 2022. Officials say donations were down for many Salvation Army Red Kettles across Texas last year. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell so when you're on YouTube you can get Crossroads Today. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. Police and first responders in Mississippi were busy with a multi-vehicle crash this morning.
Also ahead, the Alabama Supreme Court ruled embryos are children, sending shockwaves throughout the state and the nation.
Hi, I'm Detective Kelly Gibbs with the Victoria Police Department. Victoria Crime Stoppers is seeking information about the murder of Christina Marie Gowans. On November 7, 2002, the body of 24-year-old Christina Gowans was discovered at the 100 block of Spring Creek Drive. If you have any information about the murder of Christina Gowans, please call Victoria Crime Stoppers at 361-572-4200. You can also submit a tip by using the P3 Tip app on your Android or Apple device, or by visiting our website at www.crimestoppersvictoria.com. All tips are anonymous, and if you give information that leads to an arrest or charges being filed, you can earn a cash reward. With Victoria Crime Stoppers, I'm Detective Kelly Gibbs.
Over 100 Palestinians were killed as a result of Israeli attacks on Gaza Tuesday. One journalist in Gaza reported that the Israeli army launched a comprehensive operation in a neighborhood southeast of Gaza City. Artillery and rocket fire along with airstrikes caused destruction and deaths. He added that thousands of Palestinians were forced to evacuate from several neighborhoods and find refuge toward the west of Gaza City.
20 vehicles were involved in a massive line of crashes in Jones County, Mississippi this morning, leaving 21 people hurt. The crashes began around 6:30 a.m. Police say 20 vehicles were involved, including 18-wheelers and an overturned log truck. Ambulances took 12 of those hurt to area hospitals. Medical personnel attended to the other 9 who didn't go to a hospital. Fortunately, there were no deaths. Real-life consequences are unfolding after the Alabama Supreme Court ruled frozen embryos are children and therefore protected under the state's Wrongful Death of a Minor Act.
The court's unprecedented decision led one fertility clinic to pause IVF treatments.
The Alabama Supreme Court's ruling that frozen embryos are children is sending shockwaves through the state and the nation, leaving people trying to become parents through infertility treatments anxious and in limbo.
We had paid our clinic in full. We had purchased all of our medication.
Gabrielle Goydell and her husband spent more than $20,000 on in vitro fertilization treatments after 3 miscarriages.
And to be told that there was a possibility that we would have to stop this in the middle of one of the most important parts of it is really terrifying.
The Supreme Court's ruling came down on Friday in response to lawsuits filed by 3 couples whose embryos were accidentally destroyed. The court finding that frozen embryos are children and anyone who destroys them can be held liable for wrongful death. Critics, including the White House, warned of broader implications.
This is exactly the type of chaos that we expected when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade.
Wednesday, the University of Alabama at Birmingham Health System announced it had paused in vitro fertilization, saying they're saddened but must evaluate the potential that our patients and our physicians could be prosecuted criminally or face punitive damages.
The UAB is the first system to stop. I don't think it's going to be the last.
Goydell, who's not a patient at the UAB clinic, says she's continuing her treatments as long as her clinic allows.
I've already been so poked and prodded with the IVF process, and now I feel like there's somebody else who's coming into my personal life.
Goydell says if she ends up with extra embryos, she hopes to move them out of Alabama. I'm Emily Schmidt reporting.
Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley says she agrees with Alabama's Supreme Court that embryos are babies. In an interview today, Haley was asked if she's concerned how that could hurt people seeking IVF treatment. She called it, quote, an incredibly personal issue, unquote.
Here's a look at some of the top headlines you'll find in the Cuero Record. The Cuero Livestock Show is set for February 24th. That's this weekend. And the Aggie Moms Club of Cuero is accepting applications for students attending Texas A&M University, whether that be College Station, Galveston, or McAllen. All applications are due March 8th. Call 361-772-4552 for more details. Read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
And of course, the Victoria Livestock Show is this weekend. And, you know, I brought you some beautiful weather for that. I'm shining up my boots right now, so I'll be there too. Anyway, 65 degrees. Guess what? The temperature went up. At 8 o'clock, we were at 64. And then we went up to 65 at 9 o'clock. We got up to 78 degrees today, a little bit above our seasonal average. We're going to be 8 to 10 degrees above seasonal average for quite some time, because even though we may cool down a bit on Friday, next week we're back into the 80s. We'll be talking more about that coming up in a moment. Well, good evening, everybody. A beautiful day after the morning fog burned off. Got up to 78. And of course, the next couple of days, we're going to cool it down. I can't even use the word because we're going to knock the temperature down maybe 5 or 6 degrees, but that's not exactly cool. Tonight, we have a little bit of high cloud cover rolling through the state. Of course, this is all as that big storm on the west coast continues to basically fall apart. They're getting a little light shower and light snow activity, but no center low exists. Here's Texas, a little bit of rain up here, but as far as we're concerned, the frontal system will actually move through as a dry line. And it will give us the dry air. Now today it was a little warm. I mean, the 78 was feeling like, you know, you're beginning to perspire, right? And that's because of all the Gulf moisture rolling in. Our winds have been at about 25 miles an hour for the afternoon, and they're still up pretty strong. So that's why I'm thinking that we may not have as widespread the fog. If the the air condenses, we get the fog. But if the wind's blowing 20 miles an hour, it doesn't stick around. So here's what we've got in Future Tracker. We've got a cloud cover, cloud deck, some clouds in the morning, but in terms of limited visibility, I think it's just going to be maybe for an hour or two, and then it burns off pretty quickly, and then the afternoon sun comes in, and your Thursday, we're looking for about a 78 to 80 degree high temperature, and then Friday, the north wind kicks in as that dry air rolls through the region. So by and large, what I'm telling you is that we've got no rain for 7 days. We've got temperatures hovering at around the 80 degree mark for most of that time. It's okay. I'm enjoying it too. It's beautiful. It's lovely. All that good stuff. But you know, the concern I have, if it's 10 degrees above normal now, what's it going to be in June, July, and August? I'm going to have to go to my keyboard over here, so you just watch that. But I'm seriously asked that question because while we have been enjoying a mild winter, the heat wave in the Amazon has been brutal. So they have been dealing with all the heat that we have not been dealing with in quite some time. There's your high temperatures for the next few days. 79 tomorrow, Friday 73, 75 on Saturday. Gorgeous weekend for anything you have planned outdoors, but then up to about 80 degrees next week. And then, of course, overnights, well, we're at 65 right now, and that's actually where the low temperature is going to be. Tomorrow, 78 along the coast and to 80 degrees, maybe even 83 out in the Nixon area. There's our strong low. It's really falling apart as a storm system, but it is pulling that little frontal system behind it, which will drift through the area on Friday, and that'll give us the offshore wind. So let's go see what the forecast is. Looking for your day planner for Port Lavaca. Cloudy in the mornings. Partly cloudy in the afternoon with a high of 75. In Cuero, looking for cloudy in the morning and then mostly sunny by the afternoon with a high of 81. And your 7-day will tell you exactly what we're talking about. So the front comes in on Friday, north wind, but then by the weekend we warm up to the upper 70s and we've got 80 degrees for early next week as well. That is your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. We'd love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. And here's Zach with sports.
We had some boys and girls playoff action last night, and I'll have that coming up in sports. Last night was regional quarter round in girls hoops, and the East Titans taking on Veterans Memorial over at West High School. They trailed 20-13 at the half, but they opened up with a nice second half run to cut it to just a 4-point game. That run was capped off by this Sanaya Randall to Avery Valentine pass, who splashes home the floater. Avery would actually hit a couple of those in the second half, and you can see the girls fought hard, but they just could not stay out of foul trouble in the second half. The Vets girls went to the line a lot, and the Victoria East season comes to an end, but what a year it was on the evening. Avery Valentine led the way with 13 points. KK Cleveland was a beast on the boards. It just wasn't their night. But the Shiner girls were able to handle business against the Thrall Tigers, and they win big, 59-33, as they inch closer to the top. They will have to go through the San Saba Armadillos this Friday. The bi-district round for the boys, Edna went to Goliad, and they're going to return to Edna with another gold ball. They are bi-district champs, winning by a final score of 74-55 over Randolph. Harris led the way with 19 points on the evening. Caleb Caesar with 15 points, and Markel Soto with 12 points on the night. And while the Edna boys won in the Goliad gym against Randolph, the Goliad Tigers, well, they handled business somewhere else, beating the San Diego Vaqueros 54-51. They will get Rio Hondo in the area round of the playoffs. The Bloomington Bobcat basketball season may be over, but they got one more shot to celebrate on the this is a tongue twister. The Bloom All Sports Booster Club page, they hinted at a surprise earlier this week, and here it is, the banner that will forever hang in the Bloomington gym that says 2023-2024 district champions. They finished in a three-way tie, and as I've said before, this was the first time in at least 20 years they can say so. They do graduate some very talented seniors, but the tide turning over at the Bloom. Now, over on the soccer side of things, the West ladies having yet another fantastic year after beating Ray 2-0 last night. The girls are 8-1 in district play. That one loss came to Gregory Portland, who always seems to have the West girls' number. Well, that's exactly who they will play this Friday at 5:30 here at Memorial Stadium. They have one senior. That is Nadia Rodriguez. I caught up with her to get her thoughts on this important matchup.
Ever since my freshman year, we have not beat them before, so they're kind of our top challenger. After this, we don't play them anymore, so this is our last chance to beat them. And in order to get the win, I say we have to do some hardcore defense and finish.
Defense was a big focus today at practice. They were so close last time they played Gregory Portland, the West ladies chasing down a district title, but they pretty much have to win this Friday to keep those hopes alive. That is it for your sports. Donna Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Zach, and stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, we're going to take a last look at your weather. Plus, an 8-year-old makes history in the chess world.
Fishing is not all it's quacked up to be at the duck pond in Riverside Park. No, fishing will not be allowed at the Riverside Park duck pond starting February 26th, except for city-hosted fishing events. Fishing will reopen September 1st. Now, the city stocked the pond with fish last October, and young catfish will be added in March. The closure will give the fish time to grow and spawn. Signs will be posted at the pond to tell residents of the closure. People who are seen fishing during the closure will be reported to the Texas game wardens and may be ticketed. A museum in Dallas is getting children ready for the once-in-a-lifetime total eclipse on April 8th. The museum is giving away more than 1 million eclipse safety glasses to more than 50 schools and districts across North Texas. Staff at the museum say the glasses will give students and teachers a safe way to experience the amazing event. In the coming weeks, the museum will also pass out glasses at several community events across North Texas. Now, we got a pair of those last year for one of the eclipses, and I used it briefly, but they worked. They really worked.
Scott wore them on air.
Yes, yes. And we told him, Scott, we're inside, and he went, oh. Yeah, it really did work. I had to take breaks though, so you can't like totally watch it all the time.
Well, this one's going to be more interesting because the last one was a partial. This one is a total. So that means that while you're standing outside, it's going to get dark for about 5 minutes. So you don't really have to, don't look up. I mean, but you look around, it's going to be a very weird feeling if you're in that zone of totality.
That dark, like right now?
Like, no, not like tonight, but you'll definitely notice that the sun isn't shining as much. All right, folks, lots of sun for tomorrow. No need for any glasses. Oh, maybe sunglasses, because we're going to get up to almost 80 degrees for your Thursday. Friday, we got a little north wind to cool it down just a tad, but it will lower the humidity and make it a spectacular weekend. But you can't go fishing yet. We got to let the little catfish grow up to be big catfish, right?
Yes, that's right. All righty. Thank you, Mac. An 8-year-old just shattered a world record in chess. He became the youngest player to defeat a grandmaster in a classical tournament game. The youngster from Singapore beat his 37-year-old opponent at a tournament in Switzerland Sunday. The prodigy had already made a name for himself, and he's won a number of youth tournaments around the world and became the world under-8 rapid champion in 2022.
The rest of us are just pawns.
Thank you for joining us for 25 News Now at 10.
Join us 25 News Now Sunrise, 5 a.m. Good night.